Once again to Breakfast Central. In its continued strides to rid the country of illicit drugs, the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, has had another bust, and of course, with another drug cartel, which warehoused 16 million pills of Tramadol in cartons inside a mansion in Victoria Garden City in Lagos, southwest Nigeria.
Now, this comes barely a week after the NDLEA uncovered a massive cocaine warehouse in the Ikorodu area of Lagos, and 2 months after 258.74 kilograms of crystal methamphetamine and various precursor chemicals used for the production of the toxic drug were recovered from the residence of another alleged kingpin, Emeka Nzewi, also in VGC. Let's now bring in Femi Babafemi. He's the Director, Media and Advocacy, National Drug Law Enforcement Agency. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Good morning. I think we'll begin by congratulating you and the entire NDLEA team for the great job you're doing. Now, talk to us about this recent bust in VGC area of Lagos State, and why is it that we're hearing a lot of these busts happening now? Is there something happening? Is it, like we like to say in Nigeria, the ember season?
No, actually, this has to do with, like we've always said, these are intelligence-led operations. Don't forget, with the coming of General Marwa to the agency in January last year, there has been a renewed offensive. Actually, the code name for the operation that has been going on since January last year is offensive action. And all of these have led to mopping up a lot of moles on the streets in our cities across the country. And beyond that, is actually had its focus on the drug cartels and the barons to actually take them out of circulation, to ensure that we remove them from the equation, so that help can actually come for those that are already that they have already the community of drug addicts they had created, so that government and stakeholders can actually bring help for those people. So these are deliberate strategies put in place, and this has been going on. And don't forget that for every trafficker or peddler that the agency arrests, all of these, the information gathered from them, all of these leads to something, building up of intelligence, and which ultimately leads to the big masquerade behind the scene. So that's exactly what we're seeing. But beyond that, more than ever before, the activities of the agency, again, has created a lot of awareness among the citizens of the country. And we're glad that as a result of that, we're getting a lot of support from Nigerians. We're getting a lot of information. Nigerians are encouraged to come forward to partner with the agency, to give the agency information. And all of these are actually leading to what we're seeing today.
All right. So there's some other, perspective, that might be a little confusing. I hope that you can help us understand. Not long ago, we spoke about 194 billion naira, I think, drug bust in Ikorodu. Now we're speaking about 8.8 billion naira in VGC. Does this paint a picture of maybe the level of drug usage in Lagos? Or are these drugs, evidence that Lagos or Nigeria is a transit route for the drug market in West Africa? And how did they gather so many of them in one place?
Yeah, don't forget that if you go by the 2018 National Drug Survey, Lagos has the highest prevalence rate in the country. That's 33%. And that's not because things are not because you won't hold the state government responsible for that. That basically is a result of the position of the state as a hub in the country. Whether you talk of the sea and the airports, the biggest and the busiest of the seaports, the airports are located in Lagos. Apart from that, again, you also can compare the population of Lagos, the cosmopolitan nature of Lagos, to other places across the country. So all of these are largely responsible for this, for what you are seeing. But then what we know over the years has been that Nigeria has always been a transit point But then recently, that has also changed a little from being just an ordinary transit hub to also a consuming nation. Now, people take all of these substances. But if you see if you are talking of the hall, the cocaine hall, that basically is a warehouse that the cartel, the international syndicate behind that hall, actually plans to, from where they plan to be distributing that volume of cocaine to other parts of the world, Asia. We follow them. We have sufficient intelligence of them and their plans. They actually plan to distribute that to other parts of the world. I mean, other countries in Asia, America, Europe, and even Africa. So they have their plans, and these are all parts of an international syndicate operating there.
All right. Last week on the show, we talked about the NDLEA setting ablaze cocaine worth the tune of over 194 billion naira. Now, this action gained widespread criticism in Nigeria amongst Nigerians, some of who felt that there could have been other ways. Some were concerned about evidence being destroyed, and there were also a certain group of people who were concerned about the environmental implications of burning this publicly. Now, is this usually the norm for the NDLEA? How are these drugs being discarded of, and are there possible plans that the environment will be put into consideration when further evidence or further exhibits like this are being discarded?
Now, two issues you have raised in the question. One, the burning of the cocaine, does that amount to destruction of the evidence that will be used for the prosecution of the suspects in court? The answer is no. What happened basically is the volume or the quantity of cocaine you had in that single seizure has never happened, as far as we know, anywhere in Africa. So you cannot afford to keep, and when you are dealing with an international syndicate, you cannot take chances. You cannot afford to keep, warehouse all of that pending when the entire prosecution process will be concluded. That is dangerous. We don't want a situation where things will start happening, and we are a very complex people, where if this thing had been warehoused, then you will start hearing some people say, oh, maybe NDLEA is recycling this thing into the society, into the communities. Now we're being proactive, we're being smart about it by ensuring that we don't leave anything to chassis, and we indeed approach the court. This is not something that the agency did on its own. We approached the court, and the Federal High Court in Lagos gave an order to the agency to destroy substantial portion of that consignment and keep a remnant which amounts to 27.5 kilo, which is still huge enough, 27.5 kilograms of the cocaine for prosecution purpose. And all of these were stated in a statement on the district. But obviously, a lot of people didn't read that statement, or maybe some people read and didn't actually understand the meaning of all of that. But then indeed, the evidence to prosecute the case is very much intact.
All right.
And the decision to destroy was not done out of just by the wills of the agency. That was based on a valid court order.
All right.
Now to the second.
I'd like you to also quickly, please, answer the second part of the question where I asked you about the impact on the environment and what future. Yes.
Now to the second question on the environment, we actually don't do this again alone. We work with our environmental pollution agencies to choose location where we destroy and how we do this. And in this case, we know that in this age and time, there is an alternative, a better alternative, which is incineration. But at the moment, we don't have incinerator. And we're working around the clock to ensure that incinerator is not something that comes cheap. We're working around the clock. I can tell you that one of our recent trips to the US, the meetings with the US government, high level meeting for that matter, this was an issue that the agency, we've been working around meeting our stakeholders to see how they can support us with incinerator, because we are very familiar We know the impact of this kind of thing on the environment. So we're also working to ensure that we go the other roads of using incinerator. But at the moment, we don't have it, and we cannot, because we say we don't have it, look for another alternative that we can use to make sure that we don't keep all these illicit substances housed to somewhere where some things could happen to them, and we don't want to take that risk. So that's why we have to go by the other alternative for now, pending when we're able to have an incinerator.
Finally, Mr. Babafemi, I want you to speak on punitive measures. You know, these persons haven't been found guilty by any court yet, but would the public also be informed or be carried along, you know, to see how this case leads, if they will be sent to jail, or what, you know, what happens to these persons that were arrested? And then also, whose failure would you say it is, you know, that drugs of that amount can be gathered in the VGC area of Lagos or in Ikorodu without being spotted until now?
Yeah, definitely. We'll be very transparent with our investigation and our prosecution. All the cases we are prosecuting at the moment, they are all in the full glare of the public. The media are always there to follow up to see how diligent we are with the prosecution. And I can tell you, our prosecution success rate is more than 90%. We're very sure because we don't just hold people by the ankle, we hold them very tight with exhibits. And in these cases, you would have seen that exhibits were recovered from the suspects, and their statements also confirming ownership of those exhibits. So we're very certain that we have good cases to pursue against them in the law courts. Now, talking about the volume of, yes, you see, these people chose secluded areas to hide these illicit substances as a means of hiding their trade from the prying eyes of security agencies. But they also forget that technology and intelligence have made all of that, have made them have made things really difficult for them, because now they can no longer hide, even when they have to move into estates where ordinary people cannot access. But then, Nigerians are now very, very very well interested in this fight against illicit drugs, because we're seeing lives in thousands of our young people being ruined, destinies being destroyed on the streets, and we can no longer fold our hands. So the Nigerians are joining hands. They are actually coming up to support the work of the agency, and that is the way to go. This is how we can actually win this war, because that's the whole essence of our advocacy initiative, War Against Drug Abuse, to mobilize everyone to buy in and take ownership of the war. And that's exactly what we're seeing at the moment.
Femi Babafemi, Director, Media and Advocacy, or Media and, yes, Advocacy for the NDLEA. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, and well done to the job that you and your team are doing.
Thank you very much. I appreciate having me. Thank you. Good morning.
All right.